What the hell is up, everybody? I'm here. I'm Tori Franco. This is the What the World Needs podcast, episode 8. Can't believe that. We're already at episode 8. That's crazy to me. Today, I wanted to talk about some heavy shit. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day. We celebrate here in the States. We celebrate the amazingness of Martin Luther King and all that he accomplished. He was everybody knows who he is, but he was a pioneer for positivity, for equality and civil rights for all. And we celebrate his birthday, and it's a big thing here in the States. And I wanted to kind of touch on that because I feel like it's important. And I feel like Martin Luther King, we need more people like that today, even in today's world. I feel like there's a lot of progress going on. But before I get into it, I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about Donald Trump and his shithole statement that he made, because I feel like that kind of ties into Martin Luther King and everything like that and everything that he believed. I want to just talk about what I always talk about, spreading positivity and how that applies to literally everyday life and how it's so important for us to do that. And then I kind of want to segue into the music industry and how there's a lot of corruption and things have been bothering me in regards to the music industry. So that's really it. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So first and foremost, yesterday was Martin Luther King Day. And it's funny because to me, it's an important day. I don't really, it's not like I go out of my way to do anything special. I'm just not a racist person to begin with. And I do try and treat, even people that piss me off, like on the street, if somebody does something stupid, because there's a lot of stupid people out there. I'm aware of that. I do still try and treat everybody with compassion. And I feel like that is the best thing that we can do. And I've definitely done podcast episodes about that one subject in the past, if you're new here. But it's funny because yesterday I went, me and Alexis we went and got our cars fixed. Because for some reason, whenever my car's broken, her car's broken too. I don't understand why. So my car needed something replaced in it, so I had to go to the mechanic. Alexis needed a battery replaced, so we obviously go to the same mechanic. So as I'm waiting for Alexis to show up, the owner of the auto body shop is sitting there, and there's a bunch of people, getting their cars fixed for whatever reason. They're in there, they're there, and the shithole comment comes up. For those of you who don't know, Donald Trump was talking about immigration, and he had said that he didn't want any immigrants coming from like Haiti, El Salvador, and Africa, because those are shithole countries, and he doesn't want people coming from shithole countries. That was what he had said. It was reported that he said that. He didn't deny it until it took a while for him to be like, I didn't say that. So that is definitely a Donald Trump thing to say. And obviously there's outrage about it. A lot of people are talking about it, as they should be. And obviously everybody, it leaves conversation for everybody to just, it leaves the conversation open for everybody to discuss. So needless to say, somehow this came up. The owner was talking about how he doesn't like taking credit cards anymore because he was, charged 3%, which ended up being like $90,000 a year or something like that. And he's like, I've noticed that the only people being paid in this country are pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, and I think he said like big corporations or something like that, which I actually agree with. He's right. Pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies are the biggest crooks on the face of the planet, period. It's just a known fact. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. But he goes on to say, who else is getting paid like that? Who else? And one of the guys that was waiting for his car, one of the customers was like, well, Donald Trump is filling up his pockets. He's like, well, how? The owner was obviously a Trump supporter and started laughing about the comments about the shithole comment. Oh, the countries are shitholes. He's like, oh, but it's true though. He makes me laugh with the things that he says. It's true. And I just remember calling Alexis because Alexis is like me. She we have a lot of the same views on things, and I called her and I was like, oh my God, like you have to hear this owner like speaking outright about how these countries are shitholes. Oh, have you ever seen it? Oh, I would never vacation there, yada, yada. You know what I mean? And I wanted to say, well, you're lucky enough to even be able to vacation anywhere, let alone to talk about how you would never vacation in Haiti because it is a shithole country. Instead of saying that, even if it is a third world country, and this idiot was like, it's not a third world country, it's even a fourth world country, like trying to say that it's even shittier than a third world country, is instead of like taking a step back and saying, why is this country a third world country and what can I do to help to make it so that it's not, you're just gonna sit there and be like, well, Donald Trump is right. You know what I mean? And I felt like, wow, like of all days to be talking like this, like it's Martin Luther King Day. You know what I mean? And today is supposed to be a day recognizing equality, recognizing that we are all one race. We're a human race. And because of that, I was very bothered by that. And you know what? In hindsight, I sat and I didn't say anything. Everybody was laughing, and I did not laugh. I mean, I sat there stone cold, straight faced. I was not trying to be polite and like, oh, you're trying to make a joke, even though it's not funny, I'm gonna laugh. You know what I mean? Everybody was like, ah, ha, ha, oh my God, that's so funny. Like even people who you could tell didn't agree were just trying to be polite and laugh. And I just sat there on my phone because to me it's disgusting. Like don't talk shit like that. You know what I mean? That's gross. You're like Haiti, you're forgetting the fact that there are earthquakes there are, tsunamis and things that happen, natural disasters that those people can't control, that do obviously affect the land and affect the state of living in those countries. Obviously if we were constantly devastated here in America, if New York was devastated constantly with crazy natural disasters, I'm sure Long Island wouldn't look the way that it looks, or upstate New York wouldn't look the way that it looks. You know what I mean? So there's obviously reasons for it. And it's not like the people living in these countries are like, I want to live in poverty. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous to even say that. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I wanted to make this podcast specifically about Martin Luther King and everything that he sought out to accomplish and everything that he did accomplish. And I want to focus on that. And I want to focus on the fact that I'm a firm believer that there is only one race, and it's the human race. So I did some research, and I printed out some stuff, and I actually did some homework, and I highlighted some things that I wanted to read to everybody to kind of put some things into perspective, because we're a very divided world right now, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, because in my heart of hearts, I do feel as though we are people. At the end of the day, wherever you come from geographically, whatever your skin color is, because of where you come from, we are all one race. We are the human race. So I printed out a couple of articles and highlighted some things. So Bill Nye agrees with me that there is no such thing as race. Bill Nye is the science guy. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but he used to have a TV show back in the day. I actually never watched it, but he used to do like science experiments and like teach biology and science to kids and stuff like that. And he tried to make it fun and yada yada. But he's famous today, and he was obviously famous back then. And he's an outspoken proponent for climate change. And he said that. This is what he said. We're all the same. From a scientific standpoint, there's no such thing as race. Bill Nye's answer showed how much evolutionists have changed their position when it comes to the idea of different human races. Actually, this part of Nye's answer is much more a biblical answer than an evolutionary view of humanity. I don't want to get into the Bible and all of that because I know there's so many different people and walks of life listening to me right now, or watching me on YouTube. So I don't even want to get into that aspect of it. This particular article does try, and this is like its main focus is saying like, see, the Bible was right because the Bible says there's one race. I don't want to get into that. I just want to simply state on a scientific standpoint, because I feel like science can be proven, obviously. And I wanted to go into this. So it says, for example, when researchers completed the incredible feat of mapping the human genome in 2000, they declared that based on genetics, there is only one race, the human race. So obviously experiments have been done on genomes, the human genomes, genes, genetics. Can't get any more scientific than that. And they showed that based on genetics, we're all one race. There's no superior or inferior race because we're all one race. And then it even goes as far as to say, as Darwin, the guy who said that, survival of the fittest, all the shit that he said. It said that Darwin's ideas about human evolution were inherently racist. He held that different groups of humans evolved at different times, so some were closer to their ape-like ancestors than others. It says the late Stephen Jay Gould, an evolutionist, stated biological arguments for racism may have been more common before 1859, but they increased by orders of magnitude following the acceptance of evolutionary theory. So Darwin's theory of evolution apparently increased racism because it basically said that, like, I feel like there was an underlying, like, black people or people who have darker skin are closer to apes than, white people. They haven't fully evolved, or whatever the hell he was trying to imply. And I feel like, obviously, that's bullshit. But it says evolutionary ideas about race led to all kinds of horrors, such as members of pygmy tribes being put in zoos beside apes. That's fucking crazy. That's absolutely ridiculous. This is why we need to kind of use our own brains. I feel like there are so many people that I even know that, like, just watch one or two videos on YouTube and they're like, that's fact. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. We have to start questioning things more. But the fact of the matter is that the shade or color of your skin does not reflect, it says it right here. The shade of our skin does not reflect evolutionary progress, but it's primarily the result of our genetic makeup that determines how much of a brown-colored pigment called melanin that our skin produces. So it's really just literally only about where you are in the world, because climate plays a factor. I don't want to say weather, but climate plays a huge factor in skin tone and skin color, and you know what I mean? Because our bodies are we have to biologically adapt to our environment. So literally, that's the only reason why different people are different shades of different colors. That's it. So I printed that out. Let's see. What else did I print out here? Hold on. I got to go through it. I feel like this gives some insight. I don't know if a lot of people, I'm not like, a biologist or anything like that, but I do feel like science, when science is involved, and science can prove things, I feel like it's just, okay, it's proven, there's no fucking argument. You know what I mean? Like, it's proven, like, genetically, We are all the same. Biologically, we are all the same. I mean, aside from us literally just all bleeding the same and having the same fucking parts inside and organs, we're just genetically all the same. There's no race that is better than another, you know? So I printed out this article, which actually shows the argument that the argument for there only being one race, and it also shows the argument for it shows the argument against there being one race. But I kind of sift through it. It says, what I said is that there is no biological entity that warrants the term race. So this article that I printed out basically states that two anthropologists, famous anthropologists, pretty much are opposing. They have opposing ideas. One thinks that there's no biological finding that says that there's multiple races, and then the other anthropologist says that that's not true. There are certain races, I guess, that have different features in their makeup, their biological makeup. Therefore, there are different races, and it's just an ongoing debate. I'm more for, because it's not good to think of these things in an emotional way, but or to say something is fact because you're emotional about it, but I feel like it just makes sense. It feels better to say that there's only one race. There's no such thing as race, but we're all obviously biologically different in certain ways because of where we are on the map. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I felt like that would be interesting. It was interesting to me to see that, you know, there's only one race. And for us to look at other countries, especially us in America, to look at other countries that aren't doing as well as us and say, oh, that's a shithole country, you know? It's to insult the people in that country as well. And it's funny because Donald Trump said, you know, these are the shithole countries. Let's take immigrants from Norway. And people on Twitter, people from Norway took to Twitter and they were like, well, we don't want to come to fucking America because according to us and how we live, America's a shithole country compared to us. You know, we have a single payer healthcare system, free college, and you know, everybody's living nice and everybody's happy in this country, so we don't want to come to America. So it's just funny. It's funny, you know, how perspective is. I mean, they were obviously being satirical. They were being funny when they were saying these things, but it's the truth, you know. It's all about perspective. And I just feel like he's looking down on countries that don't have it as well as we do. And you know what? Even if you don't want to take immigrants from those countries, you're the president. I mean, do I agree? No. Not necessarily. But if you don't want to take immigrants from those countries, at least make it a point to have a team of people to go to those countries and help out. And, you know, if people are living in poverty, we have a surplus of food and money, you know what I mean, to spend and to use. Why not use it for good? And I feel like when you have that power, when you have that much power, and you're in that high of a position of power, you should use your power. Let me say power one more time. You should use that for good, to spread a positive message and show people, you know what? These are countries that do have less than us, but let's help out. Let's do something to help, you know? Because I think I've seen videos before, and I haven't again done extensive research on it, but there were videos of a professor saying that honestly, taking in immigrants isn't always good for those countries. You know, taking in immigrants from other countries isn't always helpful it's not advantageous to take in those people, because those people that are fleeing from the poverty. I mean, if you're a refugee and you're fleeing from being tortured, like the people in Syria and other places, then obviously it's life or death. There are people who are escaping from poverty, which essentially you would say, okay, that's life and death too. But there apparently have been studies that have been done that say that it's actually not good for them to leave. It's not good for their economy, because when they leave, obviously they're not putting anything into the economy. I don't know though. I haven't done extensive research on it to find out. Maybe I will. Maybe I don't know. It's very interesting to see, does fleeing your own country when things are shitty, does that actually help the country? I don't know. I have no idea. But let's just say that it does in some way. I don't know. Again, I don't have all the answers. I'm just giving my opinion that on a social standpoint, I don't think we should look at people that are in poverty and not in the best state, and we should look at them and be like, oh, well, you're from a shithole country. You know what I mean? And when you really take it from a smaller scale, from as large of a scale as Donald Trump saying that, to, let's say, my town where I live. Let's say my town is like one of the nicer towns in my area, and then I go to a shithole town and I look at those people and I look down at them. Is that right? No, it's not right. So anyway, I wanted to just address this, and for anybody overseas listening, especially in any of those countries, I mean, who knows? You never know. Anybody from any of those countries. I know there's a lot of people from El Salvador in America. If you're listening to this, not all Americans feel that way. I know my Filipino following is huge, and Philippines, I've been told, is a third world country. But despite that, it's one of the happiest countries. So to look at the Philippines, which is one of the most beautiful countries aesthetically, not just the people who are beautiful as well, but aesthetically, just looking at like a visual standpoint, the Philippines is one of the most beautiful countries out there, but it's a third world country. So just because it's a third world country and people don't live as nicely as we do here in America, we have to call that country a shithole country. There are people here that I know personally. One guy I know, he's a close friend of the family. He's been to the Philippines. He was stationed there for like a year and a half in the military, and he said it's one of his favorite places that he's ever visited before, despite it being a third world country. And Haiti, I've heard, is beautiful. I've never heard really anything about El Salvador. Africa, come on. I would love to visit Africa one day. Well, Africa's a continent, but still. Either way, it's just to put a blanket statement on a country or even a group of people just because they're not living as nicely as Donald Trump or whoever else thinks that they should live. Well, that's just fucked up to me, and I don't agree, and I don't know. I just wanted to address that. And I also just wanted to counter that by saying we're all fucking people. That's it. At the end of the day, we're all going to the same place. We all come from the same place. Whether there is such thing biologically as race or there really isn't. Regardless, we all bleed the same. We all fucking cry the same. We all get hurt the same way. You know what I mean? If you take a black person and a white person and throw them both off a building, guess what? They're both going to hit the ground the same way. You know what I mean? They're both going to die. Hopefully not, but they both are, depending on how high they're falling. That's neither here nor there, but you know what I'm saying. So it's not like we're any different, realistically. Culture is culture. And, you know, the Italians have their culture, the Filipinos have their culture, and so on and so on. But that doesn't mean that doesn't give anybody the right to look down at anybody. And shouldn't, especially not the leader of the fucking free world. Absolutely, most definitely not him. Like, of all people, you know? So I just disagree with that. We gotta spread positivity. That's what this podcast is about. What the world needs is positivity and togetherness and connection and love and inspiration. And that's why I've put myself out there every single week with my opinions or whatever, my stories, to spread that message that the only way that things are going to change in the world, let alone America, you know, not just the Philippines or wherever, the only way things are going to change overall is by spreading positivity and taking those shithole statements, which is what that statement is. It's a shithole statement. Taking those shithole statements and instead of fighting against them, just dismiss them and lead with love, you know? And that leads me to bringing up some of the wonderful quotes of Martin Luther King. I wanted to share some of them because I feel like they're important and I feel like they're profound and inspirational. So these are some wonderful quotes. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. He said, I have decided to stick to love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. That is the truth. When you lead with hate and anger, you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting the person that you're hating. Because to hold on to that energy is fucking you up. He said, faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. So that quote specifically was actually in The Secret. And it's basically saying you have to think positively and know that even if you can't see the road fully ahead of you, you just have to know that you got to keep going. And I believe that wholeheartedly. He says, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Hence, here I am trying to speak on these issues, and I'm willing to take criticism. I'm willing to have people who disagree bash me because they don't have an argument and they're ignorant. You know, the first thing that people do when they don't have anything to argue of substance is call names and tell you you're a fucking twat. So I'm fine with that because I know in my heart that the only reason people are saying that is because they have nothing better to say. Anyway, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So it's like if you're staying silent, you're just as at fault as the person who's doing the oppressing. And staying and opening your mouth doesn't mean being violent. You know, Martin Luther King led very peacefully, but he did speak out against the oppression and the fucked up things that were going on, but he did it in a peaceful, respectful manner. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Period. I love that. I just burped. Sorry. I'm very gassy today. He said, but I know somehow that only when it's dark enough can you see the stars. Oh man, I love that. I've never seen that one before. Wow. That's crazy. Wow. So those are some wonderful quotes by the man himself. Again, this podcast is only here to inspire, to not so much teach, because I'm not here to teach. I just want to spread the knowledge, and in some way I'm teaching myself here right now, like in front of you guys, and just have a conversation about this shit, because I feel like especially right now it's important. So actually my camera stopped recording. I don't know if at this point I don't know what got recorded, but I have to edit this. I'm going to stop this here. Actually, I did want to talk about the music industry a little bit, But I'm going to save that for the next podcast and end on a positive note, end with Martin Luther King's quotes, his wonderful inspirational quotes, and just say for the record, let's spread positivity. Let's spread some good shit across the world. And wherever you are listening from, wherever you're watching from, if you're watching, make sure that you make it a point to treat somebody well today. Make sure that you make it a point to treat somebody well that you wouldn't normally treat well. Or say hi to somebody that you wouldn't normally say hi to for whatever reason. That's very, very important, and that's what we have to do. And that positivity, that compassion is scientifically contagious. It's been proven. I've done a podcast about it. Maybe I'll do some more extensive research, print out some articles to show that. But for now, I'm going to end there. And thank you all for listening. Check out my YouTube videos, Tori Franco. Those, I do some reaction videos. I'm a singer, songwriter. Check me out on Instagram at Tori Franco, TORIFRANCO. Follow me. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the next podcast. I love you guys very much. Until next time, stay real, stay smiling, stay wonderful. Peace out.